Hello everyone, good evening, and I have a pleasure to welcome you on the meeting with authors of the performance 7 Belgrade. For second night in a row, we are in Belgrade Drama Theatre watching the second production of this theatre on this double edition of Bitef Festival this year. And I must say, and I think that most of you would agree, that there are certain connections between this play and play that we saw last night. And therefore I think this discussion is going to be very interesting. I also think that because tonight here on this small stage of Belgrade Drama Theatre we have familiar faces and familiar artists, very well known and very friendly to Bitef audience. I will start from my dear colleague Milena, who is right now prominent European playwright and dramaturg, and who was, of course, born in Belgrade and partially raised on this festival, I can say as well. Then Sebastijan Horvat, we also know him as one of the most interesting, most inspiring directors in the region, and who is also known to Bitef audience because this is his third production on this festival. For the 3 times you were coming to Bitef Festival with your mutual productions, and I think that this is the 3rd time that we are talking together, and I do believe that we will have interesting conversation right now. I'm sorry, your name is Nedin?
Nedin Nazirovic.
Nedin Nazirovic is a young actor from the first part of this show, and we are also expecting Milena to join us later, and maybe Ana Dubljevic, choreographer of this play. But we will start right now and wait for the others to join us. Okay, for the beginning, I was so insisting on your collaboration, and it would be, I think, expected if I would ask you something about your collaboration, but I think that there is one thing that connects your 3 performances shown on Bitef, and this is the fact that actually we are talking about 6 performances there. You in just like a picture of these 3 performances, every time we saw performances that have 2 parts that are very strongly divided and telling the same story or putting the same story in a one place. And I would like to ask you about that and about this, let's say, element of your aesthetics and politics in theater, and what does it mean to you, and why does it inspire you to have these cuts and stitches and play with 2 acts at least?
A lot of questions. Well, I think we will divide this answer in half, in 2 parts. So first part is mine, second part is Milen's. So yes, we somehow established a kind of dialogue with during our collaboration with Milan, actually with these classical playwrights. And during this contemporary conversation with classical playwrights, we somehow established also a kind of aesthetic which we called dramaturgy of betrayal. Yeah? So we somehow like to come into contact with the audience with this kind of now we understand, we are watching this kind of a show, this, that, and then we turn the story or the aesthetic upside down, and we say, no, you are watching something else, something what is different. There are many reasons why we are doing this. One of them is actually that we are in kind of classical mood of enjoying this classical term of conflict, you know. So we like to bring this really very strong conflict in the aesthetic. So and what kind of response is needed for this kind of watching. So we are very, very interested in the response of the audience, how do they react to the material, and that they have to invent their own attitude towards what they're watching. You know, so it's not, I'm going to McDonald's, so I know what I will eat. I don't know. I don't know what I will get, and I have to reinvent my instrumentum, you know, of watching. So this is for us a kind of post-political or political, in fact, decision of the human being coming to the theater, which must decide, is this, it's nobody, there is no authority which will say to you, aha, this is good, so that's it. You have to watch this kind of thing on this way, you have to understand this in this way. So you are in the open space, you have to decide, what is this, how can I react, and stuff like this. So this is the main reason.
Very good.
Uh,
The other half of
the
that.
other half,
Yeah.
I mean,
Act.
I would just add that, of course, it has to do with dramaturgy of betrayal, but I think also each of these performances had conceptual reasons also. I mean, it seems like it's some kind of pattern, or that this is happening too often to say that this is just by accident. But every performance that was split in half like this had strong conceptual reasons. And when it comes to dramaturgy of betrayal, probably a little bit of a boring subject to talk like this, but the point is that, I mean, the way we see it is that that you can see dramaturgy as certain kind of choreography of desire, I would say. So that you produce desire, you have certain things that you do on stage that produce desire, so you're bringing the audience on stage, they want you, and then you have some things that are aggressive or that you don't understand, and this is, you're going back into your seats. And this is this vertical movement that you have during the whole show. And this can change many times during the show, very fast, sometimes it's just this half-half, so you spread the, how do you say, this kind of movement where you go very much in. But also I think during each of these parts you have some parts that are really making you want to move, and some things that are a bit too much, too loud, too aggressive in a symbolic or affective way and so on. So this is in short the dramaturgy of betrayal. Also you're producing expectations and then you're betraying them. That's the general idea.
Aside of very interesting practice that you just explained, your dramaturgy of betrayal, you also mentioned at the previous answer dialogue with the classical playwrights. So I would like you to tell us more about the dialogue with Milena on this specific text and new plays that you wrote.
No, since I started working with Sebastijan, I stopped writing, you know, and I always rewrite other people's play, and it's much less paid. And I realized if I write my own piece, I'm going to get much more money. So this time we decided to cut out the middleman, and so I can just write my own thing. No, I don't know. I mean, of course, this also has conceptual reasons. We wanted to make a three performances in 3 different cities, which are Zagreb, Ljubljana, and Belgrade, and somehow to create some kind of discussion both with Heiner Müller, but also discussion a little bit about Yugoslavia and Yugoslavian heritage. And when it comes to, I mean, I love rewriting playwrights, classical pieces or well-known pieces and so on, because I feel like, first of all, I'm learning a lot. Since I started doing this, I really learned a lot, I think, about dramaturgy and about playwriting and so on. This is really useful and fun. And also, I think when you are standing on the shoulders of giants, you know, you have a little bit more better view both of their own time, but also of your time. And I really think this is a dialogue, because the way I feel it, it's not only me ripping off somebody else's great pieces, but I feel like in my narcissistic way, you know, I feel that this has been written for me. This play has been written particularly for me, which I think is the feeling that we have always when you read something that you really connect to. Feel like, okay, thank you, Hemingway, you wrote this exactly for me. So it's also, so if you're writing for me, then I can also write for you. So it's in a way it's a dialogue. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, if you, well, of course, cement is, I think it's really extremely important, and for me it was quite an adventure when I first read it. I didn't know this, and for me it was discovery, and I think
I'm sorry to interrupt. I remember what you said the first time when you read it. You said, I really love this piece because I really don't know what to think about it. Milena.
Milena, tu. Yeah, I also remember that it was when I read it, I said, oh, wow, because it's about revolution in Russia after Civil War, actually. And I said, this is really ugly. But this is really ugly, and this is really painful. But somehow it's a kind of affirmation of revolution. So it's kind of affirmation of emancipation, and it's affirmation of change. Through the very painful and very ugly description and, you know, seeing the events. So when the situation was, we got the invitation from these three cities, and I said, this is a great momentum to grab it and to somehow tell something about dementia, about the situation today, which we are living in. So it's the former Yugoslavia, and we are somehow all the time pretending that we are, that Yugoslavia is not existing, and or if it exists, it's something bad. But it's not completely true. It's
either bad or it's romantic view.
Yeah, and we said, for all three pieces, we said we don't want to be nostalgic about Yugoslavia. We want to be somehow crystal clear what was there. It's not, we were talking also about Derrida's concept of nostalgia, you know, so that some ghosts from the past are haunting us, but that this haunting is masked in different specters, you know, different ghosts, which are now doing something with us. So we did some research on this field. So.
Thank you for the answers. Before we ask audience and other participants in this talk to take a word, I would also like to ask a question to our actors, Milena and of course Nedin Andilovic, about your process of work in this play. But basically, these are two plays. In informal beginning of this discussion, I've heard that you rehearsed completely separate for 2 weeks only with choreographer, and then director came to work on the other piece. So basically, this question for both of you: did you ever met before the premiere, or
Not on the rehearsals.
In Kafana.
Yeah. We work together whenever we can in the bar. And we enjoy to be together. And then we were looking the work of, we were looking the work of them, and they were looking the work of us. And then we discussed what is good, what is not good, where we are together, why we are together in the same performance. But I think that it is very clever, because in the first part we saw young people full of energy and full of future. They are talking about the future. They will enjoy working. But for us, there is no shiny future. It was once. We were the same once as they are now. But I think that we are also, in a way, not exactly revolutionaries, but heroes for sure. Because to survive in such a bad life, many things happened to them, and they survive, and they want to be, they live, so they are also heroes. But now everybody has to know that time passed for everybody, so we were all revolutionaries and full of energy. The days, many days ago, and everybody will come in the time, in the ages where we have to be still full of clear mind. Okay, he is dimension, but he is not without clear mind. He knows, I think also that it is so sad, the life now, but we have to survive this bad situation.
Thank you for this explanation.
May I continue in Serbian? Because I'm too nervous when I have to tell something smart. If you allow.
have to translate me.
Bit ću koncizan koliko mogu. Ja moram da kažem da se nekako rad nas mladih temeljio na tome da probudimo nekako revolucionarne metode i da se inspirišemo u tom pravcu i nekako je ceo taj rad sa nama bukvalno bio građen na tim temeljima i nismo se viđali uopšte sa njima. Jedan je taj prvi susret, par dana pred premijeru, barem nama mladima pao izuzetno teško, mi smo ridali bukvalno tih sat vremena, iako verujem da publika ima i drugačije utiske, ali nekako dobili smo odgovor u odnosu na te ideale na kojima smo u suštini gradili taj ceo prvi deo. I moram da kažem da je ovo jedinstveno iskustvo jer smo imali priliku da nekako mi kao glumci radimo na tome da se od nas šestoro stvori jedan organizam. I ja mislim da je to izuzetno retka prilika u našem teatru uopšte, a na tome se nekako tako temeljno radilo da ja imam utisak da mi osjećamo kako dišemo na sceni ako nas muzika toliko glasno pokrije. Eto, tako da ću se kako pamtiti ovo kroz što sam prošao i što sam video jer sam imao priliku da drugu polovinu predstave gledam. I to je nekako za mene kao mladog glumca jedno izuzetno jedinstveno iskustvo jer sam imao i priliku da vidim zapravo na čemu sve pozorište može da se gradi i kakvi njegovi temelji mogu da budu. Tako da Tako da sam izuzetno zahvalan zapravo. Eto.
Hvala. Hvala na ovom odgovoru.
Hvala.
Thank you. Since all of our participants in this talk introduced each other, I would also like to ask all of you if any of you has any comments or remarks, even Medenica, of course.
Yeah.
Like this.
For our foreign guests, I will first translate in few main points what Nedimi has just said, and Nedimi will correct me if I'm wrong. So one point was that the young actors were completely focused on how to develop this revolutionary energy, and they have been working on a process, physical process of becoming one body from six individuals and 6 different bodies, and that because this was their task and they didn't know what the other part of the team was doing, when they had the opportunity to watch the rehearsal of their part, they were completely emotionally shocked and they have been crying, yeah, that was their emotional reaction. I think these were the main points. I wanted to talk much earlier, but you didn't give me a word. That's what I'm facing all the time. No, joke. This was a joke. Because I just want to refer immediately to what Sebastian said, because this was also my experience. I mean, artists in general are talking that their structure, their concept, dramaturgy, etc. is open to different interpretations, and that spectators are co-creators, and then we enter performance with our own thoughts, ideas, feeling, emotional structure, etc. But in this particular case, it's 100% true. It's really conflict, as you said, or dialogue between 2 different parts, which people, spectators, could feel and understand in completely different ways. And I will now give a very personal testimony. I saw a show twice, on the opening night and tonight. And tonight I was shocked and disturbed by the fact that first time when I saw it, I didn't have an emotional reaction to the second part. And today I developed a full empathy because I read it first time as a political comment. So if we betray, and I'm coming back to the notion of betraying, if we betray our ideals, revolutionary ideals, from the past, from the youth, we will finish like these two, persons in dementia, and I don't give a shit for them. They are, for me, a political comment on what is happening when ones betray the communistic ideology and revolutionary ideals of their past. But so the fact that I didn't develop an empathy, not because you're here, I had an empathy towards the female character, but I didn't have any empathy towards the character of Miloš when I saw it for the first time, because I deliberately decided, rationally decided, to read it as a metaphorical political comment. And today I was absolutely shocked, and I think I have to check this with my psychotherapist, because I said, how is it possible that you didn't have any empathy towards this character? And then I only realized that it was my rational, deliberate, exactly what you have said. So one chooses the perspective, and this perspective really can switch from one experience to another. I'm now giving my own testimony. And I said, okay, maybe it could be seen in a completely different way. That, yeah, when we are young, we have so many hopes and ideals, but, that's life. At the end, this how do you call it in English?
Light
your main problem in life, and maybe it's just about life and not about revolution or politics, etc. Then I had a third interpretation, half of the interpretation, because we didn't finish the discussion. A very good colleague of mine and friend of mine from abroad who is here with us said, no, but I saw the first part as a very ironical one towards the revolutionary ideal of youth. You are exaggerating. I mean, it's a bit too much. It's obvious that it does not go in any direction, and etc. etc. So there is also possibility to see this first part as a kind of maybe not very, of course, severe or strict, but kind of very subtle irony towards the idealism of youth. That's also an option, not mine. I understood it in a very, for me this is the manifesto of Communistic Party. The whole show, I'm completely, and of course with the notion of spectre and Derrida and spectre of revolution that we saw in the second part, as a symbol of these ideals that we lost. So not to be very not to make confusion, I will just repeat that what is really impressive is the fact that the structure is so open that in an experience of one single spectator, you can have, and I felt completely two different emotional and intellectual responses, and I realized post festum that my first reaction was a rational decision not to have empathy, because I saw the second part as a political commentary. So, thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to refer on that? Make some comments?
Yes, I think this is this has to do with how we are used to watching the shows. Like, do we read? Are we used to watching theater in a way that we are reading the signs and we are getting the references and so on? So how do you consume art? For example, there are certain kinds of art that you cannot consume rationally in the sense of reading signs, like this is turbo folk or punk music or these kind of things that you have to, or if you're in a club with a really strong music, you need to be there, you need to feel it, and you need to experience it in your body, And I think this is very important. I think this is something that we talked about also when we were still thinking about the show. Creating the concept is that we want to start from the body, and the body needs to be very present and somehow, because I don't know if we talked about it, but somebody, I don't know whose quote, maybe this is just some of my friends said this, or maybe it's somebody famous, I don't know, but the politics begins when the body is in danger in a way. So I think this is one level where you can put the first and second part in, on the same field, so you can discuss them together. I was a little bit suspicious about this, because this is also in the description of the show for the Bitef, so I was a little bit like, did I not write this well? Did we fail in a way with our show? Because I felt that this is two kinds of heroism for me also, It's just the scope is different, It's also like the things that connect them and that puts them on the same field is the fact that it begins with body and it begins with total materialism. It's very material. Like, even if we talk about society or we talk about changing the bulb, the problem is not transcendent, it's not somewhere else, it's very here, present and concrete. So I think this is also one.
I was also shocked with my statement in the program when I saw it today. I said, oh my God, this was an exaggeration what I wrote about the show, because my reading was very, very politically, ideologically shaped.
No, it's just this because I think we are very, very prone to, I'm sorry for taking too much, but we are very prone to romanticize the past and the glorious fight of, especially if we are living a very nice, good bourgeois life, and then we are glorifying the partisan struggle and revolution and so on, just so that we are sure it's never going to happen again. So, you know, and I think this is some kind of mechanism that we are doing a lot ourselves, not somebody else. I'm talking about myself, first of all. No? So if we are glorifying these kind of things, it stays in the past. Partisans, they didn't have partisans, so they own in that way. They were looking into the future, they were not looking into the past. No? And I'm always thinking, is this first part of the show, is it past or is it the future? I don't know.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
That's exactly what I wanted to say, you know, because we were trying through the process. We were defending both parts. We were strongly defending on emotional, on the intellectual level, on political level. We were defending both parts. So you don't know what is, because in the beginning we had a lot of associations also in the first part, that this is the liberation of Belgrade, that this is the revolution and the partisans, blah blah blah, and then we all throw out, or it never happened, I don't remember, but it was something what is happening at the same time in the past and in the present time. So maybe this first part is in a way kind of older than the second part. So it's also, and when I was thinking about the play, the both parts were in fact, you don't know, is this really the fight between young and old, or is it upside down, you know, that these who are actually young are in effect old and blah 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 blah. But everything is happening through the body. This is also what I wanted to say, because also the first part is really what they are talking through the body.
Yeah.
But also through my body, in the audience, you know.
Yes,
Also
because we were trying to, all the time, to have this magical circle, to connect it's you who are, the light is always on a little bit, and it's always like this. And also the second part is about body. So it's the...
But can I just add something to what Nedim said about this, how we talked about the text, because I remember this first reading of the first part. I think it was really cruel of us in a way, you know, to try to, how to say, wake up this kind of idealistic feelings in young people. I think this is a really horrible thing to do, you know. Because not only they don't have some kind of glorious, emancipated post-class future, they don't have any kind of future, and this is the world that we are living to them. And so it's a very, in a way, very perverted, or how to say, nasty thing to ask of people. Now you need to believe in the future, and you need to show that we can do it with our own hands, and you know, we live in the world where there is no any kind of future. You know, and that's the big difference of the, you know, the ideology of the past that were kind of mythologizing, creating mythology of the future. You know, starting from the beginning of the 20th century, and now you have the fact that, you know, that the practical future is somehow slipping out of our hands. But the thing is that even if what we talked about is that, and that's also one thing that connects first and second part, that even if we don't have the future, I think it's still much more fun to fight. You know, it's boring. It's boring to give up. It's not that you need to do it, it's just boring. I think it's much more fun to fight.
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned very, very interesting motives and references, and I think that we should go back there in the next minutes of this discussion, but we do have one more question or comment from audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I first would only add one information also for foreign guests that Milena Zupancic is one of, let's say, 2 or 3 or 4 best known and best, most famous Yugoslav artists. I mean, Slovenian actress, but who had a very rich Yugoslav career. And she cares with her huge referential baggage, emotional and professional and widely referential baggage for us, I mean, having left in that time. So I wanted to ask the authors whether they were consciously calculating with that, or you just chose Milena because she's your preferred actress, you know. I mean, because when you see Milena Zupancic in that show, it's, I mean, at least 2 other layers, metaphorical layers, which the performance gets. So, yeah.
No, then.
Yeah, I think it's.
And of course, sorry for Milena, were you aware of that fact, that when you step on the stage in that performance,
Yeah, of
you
course.
said something else?
No, of course. Milena was, I think, is the best decision about this role I could make, you know, because it's many reasons. So, of course, I think that this is not. I remember the press conference when one journalist was asking Miki, sorry that Miki is not here, about who is this person? Who
Your
is
character.
Your character.
Yeah.
Who is your character? Tell us what is your character. He said, I don't know, But you don't know who is your character. Describe who is yours. Where is he coming? And we didn't talk about it. No, we didn't talk about it. We didn't have any psychological descriptions, motivating, you know, personal card of the. We didn't ask this, you know. So I was in the first moment when Milan gave me the text. I said, "This is kind of sounded like Beckett." I don't know why I said this, but this is kind of like Beckett. So do you ask yourself who is Vladimir, who is Espegon? You know, what are their lična karta, personal, you know, identity card? So it's something what is more connected with Milena and Miki as a human being, than with something fictional. So this is also what I like here. You know, I like because this is, I think, a strong force, which is doing their job, his job. So it's like I said in the beginning. It's like we were talking in the beginning, and this is our decision. It was the conceptual decision that we would like to say something or ask ourselves through these performances about Yugoslavia. So what is this common space, and so that's what
This question was also for Milan.
I have to say, it is true. Whenever an actor started with a new work in the theater, we are always in the first class of school. Always the same. The beginning is hard, but I really when Sebastian asked me if I do this performance, I read the text, and I was absolutely, in the first moment, I was very glad that he asked me to do that. But I have to say that it was one of my the most hard work. Really, why? Because it is so, now I'm talking not about this ideological or everything, or about the sense of, but just why it was so hard for an actor to do this. Because at this first moment, I know that it is impossible to do the role that it will be full of sentiment and pathetic, and it is very hard because you are walking all the time in the tiny wheel, and in every second you can fall on this side or on this side. So the measure is so tiny and so hard, and we are working with him in that way. We understand, I think in the first moment we understand each other, what we want to do, what we want that at the end it will be. So now I'm talking just about the job of actor, nothing else, but it was really very, very hard work. But we were working so fine, so tiny, so precisely. You must know that our last performance was before 75 days. And it is very hard for us because to have this really tiny, every sentence is so tiny done, and so the pauses yeah, are so exactly done. And it is hard after 75 days of nothing, not to be together. Of course, because I'm far away from Belgrade. But I think that we didn't forget what we have done.
I would like to come back to, and sorry, I have to talk to our foreign guests. I would like to come back to what Agata asked, because I think, which is completely understandable, it's a very emotional question that she didn't get an answer. You didn't get an answer. Because yes, it's obvious, these were not two fictional characters. And everything comes from the body of the two actors and from their personality. But personality of Milena Zupancic is a special personality. Milena Zupancic is the biggest Slovenian and Yugoslav actress. Sorry, Milena, that's true. You can, if you don't want to listen to this, you can leave the room. So she is the biggest. And this is for the first time after 30 years that she performs not in Slovenian, but in Serbo-Croatian or Croato-Serbian. So it would be as if Marlena Dietrich would perform in Paris in 45. So this is an extra layer for us when Milena Zupancic appears here on this stage for the first time after 30 years and speaks in language that Agata, who is Croatian, and me, who are Serbian, are calling our language nowadays, not Serbian or Croatian, but our language. It's a cultural and political gesture of a very, very special element. And the fact that it is Milena and not any other actress makes and introduce another perspective, and we see immediately that in one way or another, whether it was the idea of the director and dramaturg or not, there is a meta level which is story about Yugoslavia. It can't be seen out of this context. Is this, Agatha, what you wanted to say?
Yeah, I agree, but maybe it's only like 5 of us reading.
I mean, this is the perspective of critics, of course.
Simply diva.
Ivan, can I say something? Yeah.
Yes, please.
I'm from Zagreb, from Croatia. I will say that I liked the performance. I saw it by the third time, so I'm probably only one person here who saw the show by the third time. I was on opening night, and I was the day after, and this is the third time that I saw the show. When I saw the show by the first time on opening night, it was a beautiful show. The energy was on high level. The young actors saw the piece where the young actors projecting the energy. It was really quite easy to see that the show was performed very well. And the second part, below me, like Milena, you and the Miloš, that was magnificent. I mean, it was a magic of the theater of the first kind. By the second time, I knew everything about the dramaturgy of Betrayal, like you say, because it's easy to read, and if it's easy to read, then it's nice and well done. But tonight, the third one, that was a bad show tonight. Because I have a memory on the first one, I have a memory on the second one. And tonight, like you say, it's 75 days of not working. It's scenes. You can see it on the show, because this show is a fine work of art. It's a fine work of body and a fine work of emotion. And if its body is not human, and the actors, they are not dancers, they are not programmed to do rehearsing, to give as much as they can when they're performing. They have to be tuned to be performed because they are actors. It was full of the holes in the show, in their performing. And then your dramaturgy of Betrayal, it's nothing. It doesn't work then, you know. And the second part with Milena and Miloš, it was a little bit better, but it wasn't like first night when I saw it a couple of months ago, and the second night when I saw it a couple of nights ago. But still, I'm congratulating you, Sebastian. The show is really well done, the concept is working, and the next time when you're working with someone who is not a dancer, you have to be careful when you reinvent and rehearsing the show again. You have to press them hard, to give them much, as you're doing on the opening night. That's it.
Thank you so much for this comment. I could not agree more, except for the pressing of the actors. I think they are pressed a lot as it is now, so I don't think this would work. They're all very talented young people, and they're working a lot, and I don't think any kind of pressing would work in that sense. I think what we need to do is change the production circumstances. We just have to get rid of capitalism and
Most of us saw performance for the first time, and we were really happy about it.
Just add, this is really important, and this is something that we try to talk to the people from the theater, and I think I really like what is happening. If I can just add a couple of words, I think this is important to say. I really like what is happening in Bitef. I think that the theater really got some kind of new life, and things are going. But I think it's very okay. There was Corona and so on, but you should not make a show like this. You should not even go into production if you don't plan to make space and time and find money to perform it. I think we can live without this kind of theater if it's too expensive. Let's get rid of it. It's completely fine. But if you don't, it's like I remember when in the 90s I was in elementary school, and all of my friends who I knew were really fucking poor, they had these shoes for 100 Deutsche Marks. You know, this is a little bit this kind. You need to perform this show. Sorry, it doesn't work otherwise. And it's not about actors. It's not their fault at all. It doesn't work like this. I'm sorry.
Sure, okay.
Most of us who saw the show for the
It
first
could be
time
the
would
system
agree.
and the clash between the system and your vision
No, I think just people in theater are really ambitious, which is really
Yes.
good on one way, but
It's
also
system.
this ambition you need to do in a way so it's
Yeah, you're
sustainable.
completely right.
That's
Yeah,
it.
Milena is completely right.
But basically, you came to see this show 3 times, which is very important. Sebastian mentioned a few times that this is a play about dissolution of Yugoslavia, and most of the critics that I read are focusing the notion of heroism. So I would like to connect these two elements and to ask you: is it possible to be a hero without the society, or at least community, who is going to recognize you as a hero and to somehow praise you and to praise your values that you somehow share? Sebastian.
Yeah, I think recently we are in fact we did a couple of shows about common people, not about kings and some exceptional human beings, in sense of history and blah blah, but really normal common people which perform some kind of exceptional acts, which are exceptional maybe in the everyday life. So I also perceive this kind of show that there are a kind of heroes. So, but it's heroism of, so it's to change the light bulb and to open this bottle of Krasnodar.
But in the end, it's also heroism of facing the fact that somebody close to you, maybe your child, just died. So yeah, I'm bringing this human element into it. Milena, please.
Sorry, I didn't listen very carefully. Please repeat me the question.
Question was about a notion of heroism that is so important for this play, and the topic of dissolution of Yugoslavia. So I asked if we can be heroes without the society who is going to praise us or recognize us as a hero.
I think we can be, but it is very hard. It is harder when your heroism is only in your very close. It is harder, but just necessary. If you are fighting like a hero, to behave like a hero, I think it is very important. Very important. You are alone. You have 3 persons around you, or the whole society is nearly impossible. In this time, I'm sorry. Heroism, every kind of heroism is important. And I'm sorry, but I feel that it is really very hard to behave like hero in these times. But we must try to be.
Or they're trying just to be men. I don't know.
Men.
Human in a very difficult conditions. I think it makes a hero, yes or no? Just to be like human on the right side of history with moral values that are good and righteous, and then...
Yes, but you know, this we can see maybe sometimes after 10 years, after 50 years, it doesn't matter. You have to be hero now, for example. But maybe nobody knows, or nobody recognizes your heroism. Maybe once in the future. That is not very, very, very important. Important is to be a hero. Now we are talking, to be a hero is such a great, it is not the right word, you know. But to be on
your side, to do this what you are believing that it is right. And not if it is not in the mood now, then we change our behavior, our working, our talking, our communication. I don't like that. I think that you can be alone, you can suffer, but you have to be a hero. It is not just good word, but we understand what does it mean to be a hero. Huh?
No, if I can just add something, this I think it has to do also with scope. So if you have like a wide view, you perceive like this kind of fighting heroism in one way. When you make the scope smaller, then you see it different. And I think, you know, when people come from abroad, I really like to take them to the Belgrade waterfront. This is somewhere where I think people should really go to see like the different kinds of realities that can exist. It's really a heroic part of this city because it's really brave to build somehow a Hong Kong in the center of Belgrade. I think, but why I'm saying this, because really I really do this, I'm not joking. Every time when a friend of mine comes, I will take them to have a coffee there, because you should go there if you have time, go there. Because this really happened yesterday when I was with Deja, and we sat for a coffee, and then at that time I got a message from a friend of mine who told me that he's in the COVID hospital, and he was just shocked by the state of the hospital, that people are literally waiting and they're lying on the floor and they're half dying, waiting to get. And I was sitting there surrounded by this rich. I mean, it's really nice to be there. Everybody is rich and happy and so on. It was really cozy. I really had a nice time. It was sunny. It was nice, and it was just this. I was amazed that you can have that we actually function in this way. We saw theater today. It was really nice, we enjoyed ourselves, and at the same time, some people are really, really, really struggling. And I'm not moralizing in any way. It's not like you're bad because you're enjoying yourself. It's not this, but I'm just amazed that you can have two realities, like the first part and the second part. In this moment, I'm comparing first part with building of the Belgrade waterfront. In the sense, there's something really heroic, and it took a lot of guts to destroy a city. It's not a simple thing to do.
Then you have a concept for a new show here.
No, it's a movie.
A movie.
Some more questions or comments? Remarks? Anyone? Okay, then I would ask you just the last question. Yes, there was. I'm sorry, I didn't see.
Okay, sorry. Considering that I believe that here we are talking about a very specific situation, but yet I kind of feel it's going in a loop, what you said. The end is beginning and the beginning is the end. Considering the topic of this year's Bitef, that's the edge of the future, I'm asking you what our future will be, because you said that there's not going to be one. And what can we do not to make our future be like the end of this play? Does that make sense?
Learn martial arts.
No, but I really think that it was because our goal for the first part was, okay, Milan said that it was a nasty thing what we did, but in a way, so to believe that something is possible, to believe that you have a future today, to believe and to feel it in your guts, in your bones, that the different kind of system is possible. We don't know what, but it's possible and it must happen. So it's something what we were struggling to find in the eyes and in the bodies of the young actors. And they didn't know each other, generally, and they were in a second. So I really must say that Ana Dubljevic, who did the choreography work in the first week, she did an amazing job. So a kind of collective was built in a second, not because there is kind of ideology or yes, we have this kind of part. You all are the same. You all are a collective group which is trying to say, do something, and from a moment that's maybe the reason why I'm so enjoying doing theater, that the theater could in one moment be a small model of society. So I somehow feel this, that felt this, that this kind of changes, the different possibilities, so hope, this big hope, without irony, without cynical attitude towards the reality, which is the common practice in theater, that this is possible. This could be. So it's faith in collaboration in society when you don't have a big effort, when you don't have a big, you won't receive a big present from, in a mean of money or. So this is still possible, and it's. I felt it. So that's why I think.
But this is really beautiful because, to bring hope in the hopeless times, I think this is really hard because we're so used to being cynical and smart and so on, and times are definitely hopeless. But this is so, I really like what you said. It's really nice. Because I think this is it, it's really, because this is also something that connects. For example, like Miloš is in hopeless situation. I don't know if this wife of his even exists. This is what, maybe she's probably
she's
just
only in his mind.
Exactly. So we're watching a guy who is alone and who reinvents his world all the time, and he doesn't fall down. I mean, he literally falls down, but he picks himself up every time. And I think this is it, even in the completely hopeless times that you find, because it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So what do we do? There is a beautiful scene at the end of Lars von Trier, this, what's it called, with the planet? When this planet is coming, and then some people are screaming around, and then what they do, they just build this little house and then they're sitting, and then would be possessed to breathe calmly and stare into the eyes of the beast. This is, I think, a wonderful way to wrap this up.
Yes, and I want to say what Sebastian was talking before. It is really something, miracle is a big word, but I was so happy coming here in this theater, and I met all these young actors, but momentarily we became big friends. Isn't it true? At once we were one, we are really friends, and it is, you see, it is possible to be some, hope or something. It is a great thing that we became really one,
Yes.
that we are one family.
Yes.
Momentarily, and we are, everybody is from another part of ex-Yugoslavia. Some from Montenegro, Bosnia, Macedonia, me from Slovenia. But we are momentarily a family, and close friends.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful.
So somehow we have a friendship and hope like very good points.
and I think very good answer to your question. Do we have any more questions? If no, I would like to thank you all for participating in this discussion, to congratulate for the show once again, and I think that after your absolute winning of the last regular edition of Bitef Festival, I think that you're coming back with very, very interesting performance that says a lot to all of us, and thank you for all these questions and comments. See you tomorrow.